Hello and welcome to episode 26 of Triumph Beyond Trauma. Today is a very different episode to what I usually release, and it is focused on the significant changes announced on the 19th of August 2024 to the TPD entitlements of the New South Wales Police Force. I use the term significant with intention. These changes are not only incredibly significant to the support of our police officers, but also to the families of those serving our communities. I know that these changes are being felt across New South Wales Police, with hundreds having left since the announcement was made. I know that there is guilt being felt by those that have decided to leave at this time. Friends, please know that there is no need for you to feel guilty or ashamed. Only you can know the extent of your injury and what you need to do for your own personal health. I hope that you guys and girls out there know that there is an incredible amount of support for you independent of the organisation. There are many of us that have left that still care deeply for the health and well-being of our former colleagues and are here for you and your families. One of the amazing charities doing incredible work is Emergency. And I know that I bang on about these girls all the time because I am such a fangirl. I'm absolutely obsessed, but they are amazing. I've had Alana on episode 6, and in today's episode, number 26, I have the wonderful Pia Schindler on to talk all things TPD. Pia's taken a deep dive into these changes and is supporting members of Emergency with knowledge and tools to assist them in moving through the process. Having served 18 years in the New South Wales Police Force herself, Pia was medically retired in 2019 as a sergeant after a hit-in-the-face diagnosis of PTSD. In her words, "One day I was there, the next I wasn't. Only with hindsight and years of treatment and post-traumatic growth can I see that I was suffering many years before I fell off the perch." Isolated and ashamed, she found her path to recovery with friend Alana, and together they realised that they were not alone. Many colleagues were experiencing the same. It's just that no one spoke about it. Together, Pia and Alana created Emergency, a charity committed to supporting, promoting, and advocating for the mental health of New South Wales and ACT emergency services. Welcome to Triumph Beyond Trauma, the podcast that explores journeys of resilience and hope. I'm Rosie Skeen, a yoga and breathwork teacher and founder of Tactical Yoga Australia. As a former soldier's wife, mum to 3 beautiful kids, and a medically retired New South Wales police officer with PTSD, I understand the challenges of navigating mental health in the first responder and veteran community. Join us for incredible stories from individuals who've confronted the depths of mental illness and discovered their path to happiness and purpose, as well as solo episodes and expert discussions. Together, we'll uncover the tools to help you navigate your journey toward a brighter, more fulfilling life. Whether you're looking for helpful insights, practical tips, or just a friendly reminder that you're not alone, Triumph Beyond Trauma has got your back. You matter, and your journey to a happier, more meaningful life starts right here. Hi, Pia. Welcome to Triumph Beyond Trauma. Thank you so much for coming on today.
Thanks, Rosie.
You haven't been on before, and I hope to get you on again one day to talk about your story a little more. But today we're going to talk about the changes to TPD for New South Wales Police. But before we get started, I would love if you could just give us a quick rundown of who you are and what you're up to now.
Sure. So my name's Pia. I was 18 years New South Wales Police. I was medically discharged in 2019, along with a friend of mine, Alana, who I went to uni and the academy with. And we were diagnosed around the same time and soon realised that we weren't the only ones that were experiencing PTSD in the workplace, even though you do feel alone at the time. So once we figured out our treatment and recovery together, because we always say we've got 2 half brains, so together we were one brain, so we could navigate everything to the best that we could. We thought, surely there's other people out there that need assistance. So that's where Emergency was created, an independent and confidential support, peer-led support network, focusing on 4 key areas: medical, legal, financial, and wellbeing, to assist other emergency services. So we also include ambulance, fire, volunteer services as well. Just providing one-on-one guidance and support for those that may be experiencing injury in the workplace.
Yeah, amazing. And it's such a great a charity organization too. And you've got so many members now.
We do.
And I think you've had an influx, haven't you, in the last couple of years as well?
We have, which is great for us, but it's not great for the person that's obviously going through it. But I'm
Yeah.
happy that um, you know people are reaching out to us, and even with this news, I'm grateful that our member base is growing so that we can provide assistance. Someone said to me the other day, "Well, what can you advise someone in this situation?" I'm like, "Well, the best bit is to go and seek advice. Go see your professional. Go to the GP. Go to the psychologist." So, if anything, I think this has probably brought attention to mental health
Yeah.
within the emergency services. Definitely.
Yeah. All right. So we'll get started on the TPD stuff. I must have come across it pretty early on that day. And I remember
Mm,
looking at my phone going, what the fuck is going on?
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that week I wasn't doing too well myself, and I had gone for a nap as I do to break up the day,
Yeah.
block everything out, and then when I woke up, I just woke up to these like all these messages just going crazy about like, "Have you heard of this? Oh my god, no!" And then since then, it's just been crazy. Like so many people are just so concerned about it.
Mm.
And I think the pressure of the looming date has really caused stress for people, especially those that are looking to return to work or are in the middle of returning to work.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really put people in a really bad position.
I think the first thing that we should talk about is that history of
Mm,
insurance within New South Wales Police and the income protection, and then how it's come to where it is right now.
okay. So without boring
Yeah.
everyone, where we are right now is everyone within the organisation's probably heard of pre-aviators. They had a good package and, according to everyone, they sold us out. And we got we got duped with insurance, which I'm hoping that the term now isn't going to be pre-24,
Yeah.
because I certainly don't think that members are selling those that are still serving out. So after Pre 88 was finalised, they moved to a SaaS system, which still some serving members are still part of this SaaS system, but it was put to the members, to the organisation, this police blue ribbon. This was in 2012. The government and the organisation wanted to introduce this. And that was first implemented by First State Super in 2012. And that cover pretty much has remained the same. The only change has been that it was First State Super was taken over by Aware Super. So it was just a change in the name.
Yeah.
So the policy remained the same in relation to injury or death in the workplace. So you've got one, the death policy for on or off duty. And then in your super benefits, you also had at the time two TPD, total permanent disability policies. One of which was a standard policy through Aware Super that everyone just got as part of their account, right? The second one was related to the police blue ribbon insurance scheme. And that was of a higher amount. And that insured New South Wales serving police if they were injured in the workplace and had a total permanent disability and could no longer work in that. And I think it's important to note that when we are discussing this, it's also relating to physical injury.
Yeah.
I think a lot of the talk has been around mental injury, which of course is the much higher stats, which we can get into in a moment. But the physical injury, I think, is worth noting. You have a lot of officers that have got bad back injuries, spinal fusions, that are injured physically on the job that I think people need to stop and think about as well.
Yeah.
So just to go back, the police blue ribbon then had that TPD. And then on top of that, we had income protection payments. So if you were unable to work, you would receive 7 years income protection payments at 75% of your income. So that remained pretty much in place. That was the scheme from 2012. In December 2022, Aware Super released to its members that it was no longer going to continue that one standard cover of TPD insurance. No one really had a choice in it. That was the insurer, that was the insurer's policy, that was pulled from everyone. So, as of that date in December, police officers only had that one TPD policy under the police blue ribbon insurance and 7 years income protection policy. Um, so what's happened since 2012 is, and we see it in the stats, is there's an increasing number of claims. And of course, with the increasing number of claims, premiums go up,
Yeah.
just like a car insurance policy. The more you claim, the more you got to pay, right? So over this decade, this massive increase in stats, and I can go into the stats in a sec, has meant that the government, through their original implementation of the police blue ribbon scheme in 2012, are now paying extra and a lot of money for those premiums to insure those police officers. The members contribute to that super scheme. I think it's 1.8% of their income. So the government then substitutes that payment. So the issue that is being put to the members by the association is this concessional cap, which they're saying is the money has been washed, our income has been washed through their super account. So let me explain this to you. So because the premiums have increased, the government has to pay for that. So the government is effectively paying the officer in their pay, but the super account is pulling that because that's the premium, right? The officer never sees that money. And then the premiums being paid. So what that looks like to the ATO is that the officer is receiving that premium payment as a form of income. So that is increasing people's threshold, which is then decreasing people's ability to apply for childcare benefits, family tax benefits, things like that. So that's what it means by washing through the super. They have administratively tried to sort that out over the last few years. And it's only become an issue in the last few years because of the massive increase in policies. I think there's been a 300% increase in claims. So the police association is saying to the members, this is fabulous. Look what we've done for you. We've gotten rid of this concessional cap. Brilliant. This is brilliant. But to what extent and to what detriment? So they have announced, along with Minister Catley and Commissioner Webb, on the 19th of August, I believe it was, when the news came out,
Yeah.
that the police blue ribbon insurance scheme will be no longer effective of the 1st of October 2024. Holy crap. Like, where does that leave us?
Yeah.
For me, sitting on this side of things, I'm grateful I don't feel that pressure of having to make a decision, but I am really invested in those that are still serving, because it's going to impact them.
Just what you were saying there, I can see how passionate you are. And when we were just talking before, when I saw that this had changed, my whole body had a response to
Yeah.
it. And
Yeah.
it doesn't affect me because I've been there, I've done that, I've gone through that process. Thank God, like you, I don't have to deal with this or make any
Mm.
decisions in relation to staying or leaving or looking after my family anymore. But I still, like you, have friends that are within the age brackets that this is going to affect
Mhm.
hugely. And I even said to my husband, like, what the actual fuck are they doing? Because
Mm.
this is not great. I know how it helped me actually focus on my recovery. And I was one of those people who I didn't even know that it existed. So I
Mm.
applied for mine a few years after I had left because I didn't even know that I had that entitlement, which I
Yeah.
know a lot of people are like that. Um,
Yeah.
and probably until a couple of weeks ago, a lot of people still might not have been aware that they had that. And now they're
Yeah.
having to go through this and make all these decisions. So Yeah,
Yeah.
sorry, I didn't want to butt in there, but keep going for sure.
Yeah. No, just on that, there are so many members that Alana and I have to sit down with and say, log into your Aware Super, let me show you. And the relief when you see on their face, because they've been serving right for 20 plus years and had no idea that they were actually insured and that they have that safety net. And just to go back, we've had this since 2012, this insurance. We've been paying our contribution to this policy since 2012, and they have literally ripped that from under us. Just to touch on the stats, because I think that's
Yeah, that's
important
important.
as
Yeah.
well. Yeah. So, 1 in 3 emergency service workers will experience PTSD symptoms because of the overexposure to highly traumatic events, right? Um, if you've served for 10 years, you're 6 times more likely to experience symptoms. So, you just mentioned it's that age where you're looking at probably late 30, mid 40s,
Yeah.
or, mid 30s, mid 40s, where you're starting to see that it's affecting your life. You've got maybe extra pressures at home, you've got children, you've got a mortgage now, all those extra vulnerabilities, and you're noticing that you're taking then your PTSD home with you. PTSD is great when you're working because you need those instincts
You do.
when you're at work to survive. But it's when you're at home that you feel that you see it having a negative impact on your life. So if we look at the stats of medically discharged officers with a psychological claim, the highest rank is a senior constable. So we all know that senior constables will roughly have 10 years of service, right?
Yeah.
So 2021, 314 senior constables were medically discharged with a psychological injury, and it goes up in 2022. In 2023, you've got 456 that are medically discharged
Yeah.
with a
Wow.
psychological injury. So the stats are correlating. There's no arguing with that. You
Yeah.
can't argue with that. It's around that time that you will start to experience those symptoms.
So they're all senior constables, or that's just the total in police?
That's all. No, do you want the total?
Yeah. So
Yeah.
it's so
That's
in
just
2023, there's 456 senior constables going off with a
mhm,
psychological injury, or
mhm.
they're medically discharged. So
Medically discharged. Yes.
yeah.
So let me give you the full totals. 2021,
Yeah.
you've got a total of all ranks, 426 medically discharged with a psychological injury.
Wow. Okay.
2023, you've got a total of 603 medically discharged with a psychological injury. Now, these are that we applied for through GIPA and being provided by the New South Wales Police. 2024 is not where, as of May, it was sitting at 247
Mm.
total amount of discharged. Concerning, right?
Yeah.
Considering that we're already 2,000 under our quota of employees of New South Wales Police.
Yeah. That's right.
The discharge rate has been huge.
And then that
Um,
doesn't account for those. So I think it's 2,000 under strength, isn't it, at the moment of actual
mm,
police employed? But then there's also the police that are off sick.
of sick. And I do have that. I think it's 1,600. It was mentioned in Parliament the other day. Let's just say 1,600 round figure.
Yeah, I think I remember seeing around that number as well.
Yeah.
That's 3,500. And then,
Mm,
if we go off the stats of the last few years, it's going to be about 500 senior constables go off this year.
mhm,
But what's happened in the last couple of weeks since the
mm.
announcements?
So the first 2 weeks, there was 200 that have
Yeah.
gone off. I did hear today that it was possibly now 300. Um, I can tell you here the number of claims that have been lodged. So this is not necessarily medically discharged, but the
Yeah.
number of claims put in, so the 902s, would be, sorry, not 902s, it would have to be a work comp claim,
Yes. Yeah.
not 902. So 2021, there was 1,088 work cover claims. And in 2023, you've got 1,140 psychological work cover claims. So it's increasing.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about that. So the stats are increasing, the premiums are increasing, and it's effectively too much for the organisation and the government to keep paying out. Now, I did print off this morning, according to the police annual report. Let me just grab it from my printer. Um, which is available on the police website under the budget review section. You've got the net result for the budget review was adverse to the original budget by $460 million. Total expenses, excluding losses, were substantially higher than the original budget of $342 million, primarily driven by an increase in workers' compensation-related expenses, brackets $100 million, and provisions for police blue ribbon insurance premiums payable in future years, brackets $186 million. So that'll give you an indication of the cost that the organisation has for work cover claims. It's quite significant.
Yeah. It's a couple of bucks. Yeah.
Yeah, just a couple of million bucks.
Yeah. Yeah.
So they released this information that the police blue ribbon will be no longer, and it'll be taken over by the EPPS, I believe it is.
Yeah. Enhanced police support scheme.
Yes,
Yeah.
because according to them, they want to assist police more in their recovery.
Bless them.
Bless. Great. Love it. How are they going to do this?
How are they supposed to do it?
I want to know. I love the concept of the Pulse program.
Yeah.
Love it. I love some initiatives of that, definitely. How is, let's break down these EPPS. I've got the fact sheet somewhere. Are you happy to do that,
Yeah,
Rosie?
for sure. Yeah, definitely.
Sorry, I'm going
because
like
I
on
think
massive tangents here.
no, and I think it's important because it's as you would know, when you are going through something like this, and especially for those that are already off or have this could have been the straw that broke the camel's back for them to make the
Mhm.
decision to leave. 100%.
Yeah.
To then have to go and navigate all of this information,
Mm.
especially with a psychological injury, can be overwhelming. So
Mm.
that's why I really wanted to get you on so people can, because I know for me, I love listening to information. I'm better able to absorb it. So
Yeah,
whatever
same.
information you've got, I'd love for you to
Yeah.
share it for sure.
Just touching on that too, Rosie, like there's massive research in moral injury in PTSD and emergency service workers. So to briefly describe moral injury is, when you bust your ass day in, day out for the organisation and, you get thrown over the coals, whether it's, at a court hearing, coronial inquest or management or, something. So when you say it's the final straw, yeah, definitely the final straw, especially for those people that are trying to return back to work, trying to still, live with their purpose, live with their identity. That's the hardest decision for someone to make is to leave the organization because of that culture, because of that identity. And the moral injury component of this is, well, fuck it. Why would I bust my ass now to try and return to work and you've just turned your back on me?
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And one of the points that I had like to talk about was this is that so many people, and I know that a lot of us go off because of management or because that you
Mhm.
don't feel looked after, I guess, by the organization when you're going out to bust your ass. And
Mm,
then, so now they've made this change. Like, how are they feeling about that? How can you feel good about an organization that's ripped an insurance
mm,
policy away from you?
mm,
It doesn't benefit everybody. Sure, there'll be some people, probably more to the top end of
mm,
hierarchy, especially that it will benefit because they've been there longer, they hold a higher rank. It will help them with their superannuation contributions and all that stuff. But
Mm,
for the little guys, the senior connies that are leaving in droves from the
yeah.
numbers, it would leave a really bad taste in their mouth,
Mm,
in relation to this, yeah, for sure.
definitely. And not forgetting that that was one of the only insurers that would insure police officers. So I am not aware of, and we had a consultation with Lachlan from Lambourne Partners, and
Yeah,
he's still yet to find someone, an insurer that will insure police. So, um, yeah, like, I think there was one comment thrown around, well, you can go get your own insurance. Well, yeah, but no one's going to insure you. And if they do, it is going to be too much
yeah,
for someone to sustain paying that premium.
yeah, for sure. That's the thing. One, finding it and then actually paying for it.
Mm,
So
yeah,
whatever, yeah, yeah, it's incredible.
yeah,
That's why the police blue ribbon was so good because you didn't have to go and look outside, and that's how they sold it to everyone because,
yeah,
yes, good luck finding an insurance policy to cover you
mhm,
because of the work that you do.
yeah,
Yeah,
because it's high risk,
that's right.
high risk, and there was an increase, of the claim. It's
Yeah,
too risky for the insurer. Um, so with this new EPSS, we still have our the death cover under Aware Super.
yeah,
Look, details have been very sketchy in terms of what this EPSS looks like. From what we know, the 7 years income protection payments will continue at 75% of pre-injury wage, with the option of a further 3 years in the circumstance of a catastrophic event. There's several things here to break down, right? So
yeah,
we still got our death policy, um, which is still being paid through Aware Super, which is great. Is concerning is the comments being made. I'm worth more dead than what I am alive or
yeah.
injured.
That was one of my initial thoughts. I think it was probably the second thought I had after this is far,
Yeah,
is that
yeah,
death benefits, especially for younger workers,
hmm,
will be much higher than a possible extra 3 years if
much
they get
higher.
it. If they get
Yeah,
it. Yeah.
yeah. So, um, you know, you if you look at someone, I think we said the ages, mid-30s to early 40s, you've probably got a mortgage,
Yeah.
probably got children, you've probably got a spouse that might rely on you. You're the primary income earner, and you can't work. Um, what what's your frame of mind?
Yeah. And if you have a psychological
Um,
injury as
mhm.
well.
If you have Absolutely. So we also know the stats tell us that one every 4.3 weeks, emergency service worker in Australia will take their own lives. So now we have this insurance policy that's saying, well, you're worth more to your family, not here, than what you are here.
Yeah.
And effectively, you can look after your family. That just gives me goosebumps.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, I feel actually physically
Mm,
sick because of it.
mm,
Yeah.
mm, yeah. Um, Sorry, we kind of deviated there, but I just feel like that's important to talk about because suicide is something that needs to be addressed within emergency services. We've just had that Veteran Royal Commission into
Yeah.
suicide. Our stats are really up there as well, and needs to be considered when they're looking at something like this, changes in policy. So yes, they're continuing the death cover, and now they're saying you've still got your 7 years at 75%. We're going to help you back into the workplace. Now, what they have been sketchy on is that in their FAQs they say up to 7 years.
Yeah.
So our previous policy in Aware Super was 7 years. 7 years at 75%. This says up to 7 years. So they've also released information that it's going to be self-managed.
Yeah.
What does that mean? Details are not clear in terms of that. However, I do have um, information that has been released that if you were to apply for a catastrophic circumstance, so this is
So
the
this is
extra
this is
3 years
after the 7, right? Yeah. You
after
make
the
the
7.
application. So probably
Yeah,
around 6.5 years, 6.5 years, you'd have to make that application for the extra 3.
correct. But do we know that for sure? I'm not
That's
sure
right.
because
Do know.
it says up to 7 years. Do you have to continuously apply for that throughout the 7 years?
And imagine
Um,
how traumatic that will be for people,
mhm,
because to have to do all this paperwork over and over
mhm.
again, I know personally for me,
Yeah,
that's traumatic to have to, and
yeah,
not even if you're talking about your injuries, well, what caused the injuries, the events that caused your injuries, but for a psychological injury, just to complete the paperwork, to talk about it, and to feel like you have to prove your injury over and over
mm,
again,
mhm,
that's traumatizing in itself.
100%. And, um, we're affected by the insurer,
Yeah.
right? At the end of the day, they are semi-independent.
Yes,
We're
absolutely.
going into an unknown here where, there seems to be no clear independence. So this panel, this independent panel, as they say, is composed of a person nominated by the Commissioner of Police, a person nominated by the President of the Police Association, and a chairperson nominated by the Minister for Police and Counterterrorism. I'm sorry, there is no independence in that whatsoever. And who is advocating for the injured worker?
Yeah, absolutely.
Do we have to hire a lawyer to sit in this panel? Um, what happens there? And these, this panel is not necessarily medically trained. How can they make a determination?
Yeah,
Um, they will, however, consider various types of evidence. Um,
I did see
Reading
this, yes.
here, it would include income or payslip, medical health or health assessments, vocational assessments, whole person impairment assessments, or any other material deemed necessary. So, my question is, and this has only entered my brain in the last few days, right? If this is self managed, and Commissioner Webb said on Friday in Parliament that the claims that have been initiated since the announcement will be contested.
Yeah,
Right. She's already said that. However, that may look like. This independent panel and self-managed, is the injured worker then subject to an internal investigation in relation to their ability to be employed? At what point does this end?
yeah,
This is just opening up so many questions and removes the independence of the insurer, which, I encourage them to release more information that might alleviate people's concern. So up to 7 years, and then you can apply 3 years. But during that process, who knows what might happen to you.
that's right, and
And that,
it's sorry, keep going.
no, you go.
I was gonna say, but it's the 3 years, but it's up to a further 3 years, isn't it? And it's still
Mhm.
up to 75%.
Correct.
Yeah. So they'll
Correct.
definitely be using that, I'm sure.
And our other question is, where does the test lie? So the current TPD test is that you get signed off by doctors saying that you are unable to work based on your training and your education, right? Effectively, the New South Wales Police. Is is the test for this going to be any different? Could they change the test and say, well, you might not have capability to work as a police officer anymore? Yes, we agree with that. However, you might have capability to run the school canteen.
Yeah.
Um, where is that test? We have not received any information about what that looks like, and that's concerning to me too, because if they're willing to rip the TPD away from us, then at what point are we slowly going to just start the rest of this just being chipped away? and leaves us with little to no option.
Yeah. And I guess they've given themselves a few years, haven't they, really,
Mm,
to work it out?
yeah. And I don't necessarily believe, that this has come out of the blue.
Yeah.
We've
Yeah.
been they've been negotiating for how long for a pay increase? Where's the government gonna find that money to give that pay increase? They're asking for what, 20%, I think? That's huge.
Well, they might get it out of that 180 million maybe that they
Well,
save on the insurance policies.
you can only believe, right?
Yeah, who knows? I mean, it doesn't help the people doing the job, pulling on their boots, when they'd
Mm,
rather be kissing their kids goodnight. And yeah, I can only imagine what's going through some of their minds at the moment in relation to that and how looked after they feel. Like, I know there's police
mm,
in there that like we said before, they're already short, they're already well under strength. There's people leaving, I'm sure, more than daily now. There'd be more than one a day
mm,
leaving,
mm.
especially if it's up to 300 in, is it nearly 3 weeks, I
3
guess? Yeah.
weeks, yeah,
So
yeah.
100 people a week are leaving. Um,
Mm,
they can't cover first response. People are leaving their specialist roles to cover first response. There's detectives on the street in uniform, and for what? Like, what?
yeah.
Why would they? Like, I couldn't think of why I would keep doing that job if they have to do more, with less,
Well,
and they
well,
don't have the support of
yeah,
the guys at the top. I just
yeah.
makes no sense to me, I
I
think.
I think though, like, looking back, I was 20 when I joined.
Yeah.
I had no obligation to anyone other than, myself. Um, I definitely did not know anything about a superannuation account at all. It was my first job I'd ever had in the cops, right?
Yeah.
So you don't need to know about it until you need to know about it.
Yeah, for
And
sure.
that point where you need to know about it happens very differently for everyone. Like, for example, I literally fell off the perch. Looking back now, only can I see that 4 years prior, yeah, I was going downhill, but that's with hindsight and with
Yeah.
now education and treatment. But I literally had gone into work one day and did not come back the next. And it happens differently to people. Yeah, to have that realization where you actually physically can't get into work, and then how are you going to provide? How are you going to pay for that mortgage, cost of living crisis?
Yeah.
Um, Very, very hard. Very hard.
Yeah.
Mm.
Oh, yeah. I just feel so sad for them. I know Lachlan talked a lot on the podcast that you did with Sarah, which is so
Mm.
good, actually. Like,
Yeah.
that was so valuable. Do you want to talk about the stigma for police leaving right now? I think that's so bad. But I think we've touched on that as well.
I feel like the stigma is changing. Um, Slightly, the landscape is changing slightly. I don't know if that's because we've got Gen whatever it is now coming into the workplace and they, are so open about their troubles and stuff. Definitely, I feel like it's changing, but the culture, I think, is lagging
Yeah.
around that because I still speak to people and they're like, well, but everyone will know.
Yeah.
I was
Yeah.
like, I
Yeah.
know. And it's shameful, like that level of shame and disgust in yourself. But reality is, you know, people will only ring you if they're really concerned about you and want to talk to you. And then most of the time, three-quarters of your team or your workmate won't even probably think about you,
No.
which is
It's
really sad.
It's so sad because you think you are in a bit of a family there, but the harsh reality is that when you do decide to leave for your own benefit and to look after yourself and your family, is that most of those people you won't ever hear from again.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It is like that, isn't it?
yeah,
It's so your world when you're working your shift, but then once you're removed from that, there's definitely, I think, that isolation you kind of feel like being a cop, like you just want to, live it and breathe it. definitely so much more to life, I
Yeah.
feel.
Yeah.
Um, yeah.
And it is with that hindsight and that ability to look back on it that we are able to say that as
Mm,
well. I mean, but to anyone that's worried about what other people are going to think of them, especially within the workplace,
mm,
you really shouldn't because like we said, you very like there's not many that are going to call you even. So
yeah.
you just got to
Yeah.
make the decisions that benefit you the best and your family and how you can look
Mm,
after each other moving forward from this. And
mm,
that's something that I did want to talk about is
mm,
the impact on family
mm,
that it's going to have because, I've spoken to partners of police, and they not only have to work full time,
mm,
they are the primary caregiver to the children because of I'm talking
mhm,
about psychological injury. The injured officer is can't. They don't have the ability to take care of anyone, even themselves a lot. So they've taken on the primary caregiver role of the children. They're working and they also have to look after their partner,
mm,
and making appointments for them and going to the appointments with them. Um, and that TPD payment was something that could have alleviated that stress for that partner as well. So
mm,
maybe they could go back to work part-time, while they look after everyone else in their family. But
mm,
now they're not gonna have that either. So where does that
mm,
leave a partner? And then, if we go one step further and we were talking about how death benefits are potentially
mm,
going to be more, are they going to have their partner in a few years'
mm.
time as well?
Yeah,
Those yeah, those effects are far more than just that one person for sure.
absolutely. And I think as well is that the TPD payout, right? Um, I think a bit of a misconception also is that you get that money just put into your bank account. Here's a nice little prezi for you. You can
Yeah,
knock
no.
some off the mortgage. That's not the case.
No, it's not.
When you apply for a TPD claim and you receive the benefit, it goes into your super account. So, of course, if you're under the whatever it is, 60, you can't access that. Only under extreme circumstances, which people do fall under that. However, you have to pay tax on that.
Yes.
So, a person is looking to pay about 22% tax if they take out any amount of money, between 17 and 22% tax. So, some people prefer to leave it in there and then set up some sort of fund then after it. So it's not necessarily people are getting paid this money. Here's your little envelope, nice
Yeah.
little red envelope with all your cashola. That's not the case. But yeah, some people do pull it out. They do put it on their mortgage so that they can reduce the payment so that pressure isn't so high.
Yeah.
Some people then might use that to rebuild something for their future, pay for the schooling upfront so you don't have that stress. Um, it's definitely not, the mortgage buster that people think it is, especially now with only one TPD policy.
Yeah, and that's right. And something that I did forget, previously to this is that they did take one of those TPD, um, insurances away back in 2022. So it's definitely not as much as
They
what it
did.
was from 2012 to 2020
Mm,
2022. But still it's a significant amount, and it does I think for me, thinking about the impact that it actually had on my life is that it allowed me to not have to focus on money and worry and stress about
mm,
jumping back into work, um, before I was actually ready to. Because I think what can happen there with that, and I'm not a psychologist, but is that if you do something like that, go back into work earlier than you're actually capable
mm,
or ready for, is that your injury will be exacerbated again. And who wants that, really?
mm. Yeah.
It's given me the ability to have that little bit of extra time to focus probably more so on my mental health than I had, in the 5 years before that, because I was so
Mm,
concerned with what I needed to do next to be able to provide for my family. Um,
mm,
yeah, it is significant, and I think for anyone to minimize this as being a win, for all police, I think is
mm.
probably not accurate at all. Yeah.
No, I agree. Um, my TPD payment, I'm coming to the end of my income protection payments. and I'm freaking out because I still struggle. I don't think you ever get over it. I've learnt to adapt, and try and battle my way through. But I don't think there is any employer that would employ me full time because I'd need to request naps
Yeah.
during the day,
Yeah.
days where I cannot communicate with anyone. Days where I'm still physically ill because of my trauma symptoms. There's no way that I could have a 9 to 5 full-time job. So yeah, that has helped me to alleviate stress, and especially with, children, school fees, uni fees. Um, Definitely, yeah. I mean, it's not a huge impact. I still worry coming into the
Yeah.
end of
Yeah.
my 7 years, of course. Um, but it is a security blanket there just to get some time,
Yeah.
to help you recover and figure out how to move forward.
Yeah. I'm coming to the end of mine too. I think I've got about 16 months left and I'm freaking out as well. Like,
Yeah,
what am I
I
going to do?
know. I know.
One thing I did want to talk about is the community expectation that their police are going to get looked after.
Mm.
And something that I've seen probably more so on LinkedIn and today is that they can't believe that the police who are employed to look after them and protect them won't be getting as looked after as what they might have thought they were.
Mm.
And I just think, you know, everyone expects police to be looked after because it's not a job that everyone can do. And that's reflected right now in both
Mm.
recruitment and retention rates.
Yeah.
And I just, yeah, I can't believe how widespread the shock actually is of what's going on right now. And yeah, I, yeah, I don't really know what my point is, but I just feel like everyone expects for police to be looked after.
Yeah.
Um, and it just feels like they're not all of
Yeah.
them anyway. They're not all being looked after right now.
Yeah, I feel like, since the charity began, we've got a lot of community support, and a lot of them, the majority are shocked to hear about the culture, the lack of retention, the high psychological claims. Just the ins and outs of, every day, which I think is great that this is giving the community an ability to see an insight into the actual organization and starting a conversation.
Yeah.
Let's talk about it. Let's talk about how hard this actually is, because at the end of the day, they're human.
Yeah.
They go home to their families and they're protecting you on shift.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. So talking
Mm.
about emergency, you guys offer so much as a charity.
We do.
You keep like it's
We do.
I keep calling you too crazy because I do like it's
We
amazing.
are.
You
We're
are. I
certified
think you probably
crazy.
have to be to do what you're both doing. But actually something, yeah, I know last week, there was a big ring around with psychiatrists to see who
There
had their
was.
books
Yeah.
open because a lot of them have their books closed right now.
Mm.
Um, but there's so many resources that you guys can offer on your app as well. So can
Mm.
you just give us a rundown, just maybe in relation to the TPD stuff, because that's what we're talking about today. What can you offer through the app for members at the moment?
Yeah. So when members are onboarded, they're onboarded into specific groups according to their answers, their onboarding question answers. So it'll give the person access to independent resources and confidential resources in 4 key areas: medical, legal, financial, well-being. And we work with a variety of providers. And our aim is to present the members with as much information as possible so that they can make an educated decision as to what's best for them, because not one path of recovery is going to work for everyone.
Absolutely.
So that's the intention. Our community base, we've got now over 3,000 members. Our community base is so supportive, especially recently. There's nothing negative. It's all totally supportive. And we also have increased our connection activities. So our connection hubs. So we run 31 connect hubs throughout New South Wales, and our hub leaders have decided to run them more regularly because of this issue. People want to talk about it. New people are attending, wanting to know information. trying to gauge advice. So, yeah, our connection activities have increased as well. So they'll get put into their closest hub and they can just go along and have a one-to-one chat with the hub leader. Our phones have been running hot. So by all means, continue to ring and ask questions. It's really helped our recovery, as I'm sure it has you, Rosie, like doing what you do as well for emergency services. Just trying to provide an insight into what it's like on the outside and, yeah, just trying to support as best we can.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's such a great support. And if you're not already a member, definitely head over there to the website and become a member. There's so many resources that you can search for. There's so many questions that have been answered already. So if you have a
Yeah.
question, I strongly urge you to search it up first and then ask it,
Yes.
because it's likely that it's already been answered 4 times.
Yeah.
And you
Yeah.
see that a lot, right? Like that everyone's got
Yeah.
the same questions.
Yeah.
So it's such a wealth of information. And it's just an amazing resource that you girls have worked so hard to create for
Thank
people.
you.
Yeah, congratulations on that. And
Oh,
thank
thank
you.
you.
Yeah, thanks so much
You
for
know,
coming.
make me emotional now.
I know. Well, you should be, because it's such a beautiful
Oh,
thing and
look,
it's
I'm gonna
helped
start crying.
like 3,000 people, that's a lot of people and that's a massive
Yeah.
impact. Yeah,
Yeah. Um, Look, just because, if I can just say one last message, the people join the cops because they have a level of service, right?
right.
They want to serve, whether that's to your community, to the sovereign, to, your family, to your friends. I I feel that those traits that you have, and those skills that you have as an emergency service worker can be carried to other areas of your life. You're born with those traits. It was just that career kind of suited those traits. Yeah, I feel like that's where my purpose lies, in helping, just continuing to serve as best as I can. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, I can
yeah,
understand that. I get that too.
mm,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
Thank you. Is there anything else that we haven't touched on that
Um,
I think we've
Look, I could probably talk a lot about
Yeah, I know.
Parliament last week, but I think that's a whole different
Yeah.
podcast, and I'm only halfway through the Hansard transcript, so
Yeah, I know.
it's
I
gonna
actually
be a
tried
bit
to
to
have a look at
digest
it.
that.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
even you know what? I might edit this out, I don't know. But I was listening to the Ray Hadley interview with Commissioner Webb earlier. Did you hear that?
Yes. No, I didn't. Was that today?
No, I think it might have even been the day that it was released. So it was back a little bit. I got the clip
Yeah, yeah.
online and Commissioner Webb said it's a win-win. No one will be worse off.
Mm,
And I just thought,
yeah.
wow. Yeah.
Yeah, right.
There will be some people that it won't be a win-win for, unfortunately. And um yeah, my thoughts are with the
Who's
people
the
that are
win? Who is she identifying as the win and the win? It's the win for government because they don't have to pay that over $186 million.
yeah.
That's
I,
a win. It's the win if, the cops do get a pay increase because of it, but look at what we've lost
but then the pay
because of
increase
it.
will have to go into an exorbitant insurance
Yeah.
a fee so they can cover themselves in case they are permanently
Yeah.
injured in the long run. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah. I am so passionate and it's not funny at all, but I think you and I, because we've been through this whole process
Mm.
and we're looking at this from an outsider, but also having been an insider, we can see how horrible this really does have the potential to be for people. And I think
Mm.
that's why, I know that you've been like around the clock getting all the
Yeah.
information you can about it for people, because I'm sure, like you said, your phones are running hot
Mm.
and I've been trying to educate myself as well, because, you still have friends that call you and go, what do you think I should do? Like, I don't know. Like, let me
Mm.
have a read of what's going on. And so I'm
Yeah.
really grateful that you've come on, because I know that you have a lot of information and you're in a position where you can convey that to
Mm.
people that might not have the ability to absorb the information otherwise. So
Yeah.
thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.
Thanks for reaching out and having me on too.
Yeah, it was so good. And if anyone wants to hear the emergency episode, which covers some more stuff, and like you said with Lachlan, I'll link to that in the show notes. Um,
Awesome.
yeah, it was really great. I listened to it as well, and I thought that was fantastic.
Yeah, good.
So thank you for everything you're doing. I won't make you cry again.
Don't make me cry.
I'm just adding this post recording because it is something that I think is important information for people to know. I've asked Pia because I forgot to mention it during the recording. And the question was this: do injured workers need to see a psychiatrist prior to October 1? Or is it that they need to have done their last shift and have no capacity on their work capacity certificate, which is issued by a GP? And her response was no, they don't have to see a psych before the date, just completely out of the workplace. Please let me reiterate what Pia said at the top of the episode, and that is to go and see your professionals. Speak to your GP, get yourself a work cover solicitor, see a financial advisor. If you need any help at all, finding one of these people to help you who understands the systems of the New South Wales Police and the work cover situation and TPD, head over to the emergency app. They've literally got lists that you can scroll through and find someone, hopefully in your area. But a lot of them work over Skype now anyway. But head over there. There's so many resources. The girls are always there to help. And it just makes the process a little more frictionless. I hope that you found this episode helpful, even though that Pia and I and our PTSD went on a few little tangents. But I hope that you found some stuff in there to help you on your journey. I will link in the show notes. And for those of you who don't know where the show notes are, they're actually under this episode, under where you hit play. I usually have a bit of a content warning. If you just keep scrolling, there'll be an episode description. And then underneath that is where I put all the links to everything that I mentioned within each episode. So just keep scrolling down if you're on your phone or on your PC, wherever you get the podcast. Scroll down, you'll find all the links. I also have links to mental health resources on there. The episode that Pia has released with Sarah Ashcroft on the emergency podcast, I'm going to link to that as well. So with all of that information, hopefully you have enough there. And if not, like I said, head over to emergency app, search the questions. If it's not there, what you're looking for, ask the question, and there will be lots and lots of help for you there. Have a great day. I really wish you the best. Please do what you need to do right now to take the best care of yourself and your family, regardless of what you believe others may think or say about you. Remember that those that mind don't matter, and those that matter don't mind. I am sending you all lots of love. I hope you've enjoyed today's episode. If you have, make sure to hit subscribe so you never miss any new ones. We release fresh content every Tuesday. And while you're there, take a moment to leave us a review. I would genuinely appreciate your thoughts. Don't forget to connect with me on Instagram and Facebook at Tactical Yoga Australia and share this episode with your friends, family and workmates to spread inspiration. Your support means the world. My name is Rosie Skeen. Join me again next week for another empowering and positive episode of Triumph Beyond Trauma. Until then, be kind to your mind and trust in the magic of your consistent and positive efforts. Triumph beyond your trauma is closer than you think. Have the best week.